Hello, everyone. In this video, I'm so honored to have my dear friend, the amazing TJ O'GRADY Peyton on to discuss. He is the director behind recent short film Room Taken, which has been longlisted for the Academy Award. On top of that, TJ is a dear friend of mine and an absolute legend. I'm so fortunate to be able to talk to him. TJ, how are you doing today, man?
Good. Nice to see you, man. Great to be here. Thank you for inviting me to chat. I'm looking forward to
Man,
talking.
what a
You're you're
pleasure.
you're you're used to talking to a lot bigger big dogs, but let's see how we get
Man,
on.
this is my big moment. You're elusive. I've been trying to talk to you for a long time, man. I had to go through his assistants and publicity people. So I'm glad I could finally drag you onto the channel. No, man. I mean, I'm so excited to talk Room Taken with you because I remember you showed me Room Taken, which is your recent short film, like a few months ago, and the journey it's gone on since then, and the awards and the festivals it's gone to. Like, what has this period been like for you with this short film?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like it feels like it's been going on for quite a while. We shot it in early 2023 and then we premiered it in Cork in November 2023. And now this whole year it's been doing the festival circuit and like it's been winning a good few awards and getting some good press and some interesting news, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But like
Yeah,
it's been a really exciting, creative kind of chapter that's been super fun, and
yeah.
yeah, hopefully it still continues to do well for the next couple of months. That's the goal. But yeah, it feels like it's kind of coming to an end in a way, this whole experience. But there's still a big chapter that could happen, which we're hoping for.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly, man. And so, what can you tell us actually about the short film? What it's about.
Yeah, so I haven't got my elevator pitch down, but in essence, it's about a man called Isaac who's new to Ireland, and he is experiencing homelessness. And one evening, after he kind of meets this elderly blind woman, and she forgets her shopping in this cafe, he drops her shopping back home to her because she's forgot it. And in that split second moment when he's kind of, about to leave, having nowhere else to go and being super desperate, he decides to sneak upstairs and see if there's somewhere where he can sleep because she's blind and he feels like he might get away with it. And the story then turns into this sort of, I guess, quirky comedic drama about him living in her house without her knowing, and about him maybe like helping her going through a challenging time. And she, in her own way, helps him as well. So it's about a lot of different themes. It's about loneliness. It's about grief. It's about immigration. It's about, yeah, lots of things. And yeah, it seems to be, I guess, a sweet story that could sound like it has a creepy premise.
Yeah, exactly. But what I think is so amazing, and one of the reasons it connected with me, because culturally, I think it's so resonant. In terms of the Ireland we live in terms of even the world we live in, and there's this really delicate, I suppose, relationship that's the heart of the film. But it is something that's so, like I said, culturally important. It's so timely. Was that a very conscious decision from the start? Did you realize that this was something like maybe as opposed to some of, I don't know, your other works or other things you've been involved with? This is something that's really, I guess, modern or really current right now in the world.
Yeah, like originally the story when Michael wrote it, Michael Whelan is a copywriter. He works in advertising and he wrote the story and he was focusing more on just the humanity and the loneliness. And it always was about an elderly blind woman, I believe, because
Yeah.
there was probably a version where it was a man as well, but his great aunt, his wife's like great aunt, basically a relation in France because his wife's French. She's an elderly blind woman, and he had spent a lot of time with her. So, having spent time with her, I guess the story started to kind of, I guess, develop in his mind. But then, over the course of me getting involved and us actually getting financing, there was a lot of interesting things happening in Dublin and in Ireland that were very kind of modern day, issues that hadn't really been happening before, like asylum seekers coming to Ireland and like living in tents and all this sort of stuff. And I guess over the course of like what felt like almost like, I don't want to use a pretentious word, but like organic sort of thing, it changed into the character changed and developed. And I
Wow.
think, the things that were happening in Ireland influenced us, and it just became this sort of like, I guess, like I don't want to say serendipitous, but it felt like the story evolved into something quite current.
Wow. And so what was it like for you to have, you know, empathy as a filmmaker for, I mean, it depicts obviously an asylum seeker and an elderly blind woman, which are two worlds that I'm not sure is that something that probably not something you can relate to, like, per se. But I think filmmaking is sort of an exercise in empathy. And so what was it like for you to kind of extend that empathy to these two characters who were maybe, did they feel far from you? Does that make sense? Or did you feel
Yeah,
you had to,
there's a good question. There's a lot to kind of unpack in it because like the story deals with grief, which is a huge kind of like core, I suppose, theme in the story. And that's something I can definitely relate to. So Victoria,
Mm,
who is like grieving over the loss of her husband, as a character, I can relate to that massively because my dad passed away and the brother Michael's brother, the writer, passed away. So we have this strong connection to that theme, which
wow.
probably is why I wanted to make the film, to be
Yeah.
honest. When I was
Wow.
going through it, that was the thing that stuck with me the most. But then in terms of like, disability and asylum seeking, no, I don't have a huge amount of experience in that, but I have like volunteered over the course of a year, like I don't know, 6, 7 years ago with the Simon community. So I'd worked a lot with like the homeless on a weekly basis, like, and I'd seen what it was like to be sleeping rough, and I was very kind of conscious and aware of what that world looked like. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of elements in the story that did kind of feel like a world I knew, but as people, I suppose. Yeah, that's what you could describe them as, someone who has a disability and someone who's an asylum seeker. But they're also people who are just trying to make a better life for themselves. They're also just like humans who are in a struggling or challenging moment in their lives,
Yeah.
they're maybe making decisions to try and better them, But but yeah, with that in mind, knowing that we didn't have like say I was an asylum seeker or hadn't really worked with them directly, or the world of disability is something that I'm not massively familiar with in terms of blindness. We did bring on board consultants to kind of understand that world better and do our research. So we had a visual impairment consultant who was a blind woman called Dolores Cullen, and she kind of taught us a lot about the world of being blind. And then also we spoke to people who worked with different charities and asylum seekers just to make sure that we were aware of the situation and informed, so we weren't really kind of, winging it. We wanted it to feel real.
Wow, and so how important is that honesty to you? Because I mean, one of the reasons I think I admire your work and the reason I think that your previous short films have kind of connected is because honesty is something that always seems to be at the forefront. It's something that is integral, and I kind of believe you can't make a good film without honesty. And so how important is that to you as a creative to have that honest sort of reaction, but also honest passion for the project? Obviously it's something that you could connect with personally. How important is that for you?
Oh, it's essential. And I've
Yeah,
learned that, because I've made a good few shorts over the years, and maybe some I didn't feel as strong a connection to the story as say this one. And I feel like when you have a real strong connection to a story, when you really have huge amount of faith in it, you work that bit harder, you I guess are that bit more passionate, and it just is seen on the screen, So
yeah,
I think you need to really love the material, especially on like bigger projects, which might be like features, because if you're with something for a couple of years, you need to be able to roll with the hard times. But yeah, in terms of honesty, like I guess a word I'd be use as well is authenticity,
yeah,
like making sure that it feels authentic, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's like always like 100% factually correct. We're not making a news report,
yeah.
like Werner Herzog, I remember said, you're not accountants of the truth. This isn't a news report. You're
Yeah.
you're a magician, you're an inventor, you're a creator. So you can still like, take liberty or artistic license, but it still needs to feel authentic.
Wow. And so is that something you learned? It's funny hearing you talk about that. That's something you've adjusted to. Is that the only way you think you can learn something like that through experience, through kind of, I don't know if failure is the right word, but through that process of making it sure and developing it. So do you feel like Room Taken kind of came to you at the perfect point in your career?
Yeah, definitely, a hundred
Wow,
percent.
really?
And I think, you learn a huge amount through failure. And I think if you do know things like personally, or you've experienced life in certain ways, or you've done things that you regret or didn't work out as well as you'd like, you can definitely learn from that. But in terms of like where I'm at as a filmmaker now, like I graduated from film school in 2010. That was 14 years ago. Since then, I've
Wow.
made, I don't know how many, but easily 7 short films.
And I was
And
in
like,
nappies just to make you
yeah,
feel old, man.
there you go. And also, I've made a huge amount of commercials. Like I don't know how many, but like I don't know, I'm gonna say close to 100, maybe
Wow,
something like that.
man.
Like maybe 60 or 70, but a lot. I've been doing them for 10 years. So like I feel very kind of confident and experienced now behind the camera and on set. Like it feels like very natural in a way.
Yeah.
And now this was a great opportunity to work with Screen Ireland on a bigger stage with the kind of biggest scheme for funding, which is Focus Shorts. And like, I tried to get this scheme for 10 years, and I think I had two interviews which I was failed, didn't get. This is my third time and got it. So I felt
Wow.
super ready. I felt ready to do this.
And how important is that tenacity, Because I mean, you talked there about, that was your third time, but like, imagine if it was like, even by the second, you were probably like, well, what am I doing? Like, what's the point? I'm not gonna get it. So is it important for you as a filmmaker to have that drive and that venom in you?
Essential.
Yeah,
It's
exactly, man. Yeah.
If you don't have that, you're not going anywhere, in my opinion. Like because
You're right.
do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's an industry that is not you are not going to be just given jobs and given opportunities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's just it's unless you have some serious contacts, but it's like it's something that you have to try and take. And you see Ridley Scott talking about stuff like this on like videos and Instagram. It's like you need to have that tenacity. You need to have,
Yeah.
when the door opens, you need to run through it and like take whatever opportunity you can get. Because there's I can't think of many other industries where people are willing to work for so hard and so long for no money. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Absolutely,
there
man.
are maybe so like early stages of certain careers like doctors, lawyers and stuff, but in reality, like think about how many people work for free in this industry just to get in the door and like invest money. People will invest in shorts, people will invest in education. It's like it's such a competitive industry. So you need to be driven and have tenacity. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to be dogged. And I think something in that, which I mean, obviously with this film, what's it like for you, this period of a film being out in the world? Do you feel like it belongs to you anymore? Because I mean, obviously you've done it so much where short films will go out on festivals and you can't sit next to someone and be like, so what I wanted to do here was, and also my intention with this shot is like, because, anyone can interpret it and I'm sure a lot of people love it and I'm sure a lot of people won't love it, which is that's kind of the decision or the deal you make with yourself when you make a film or when anyone makes a film. So what's this process like for you where it's out there? Does it scare you or are you kind of used to it by now or what's
I
this like?
think it's different for every film. Like if you're happy with the
Really?
film, you're enjoying it. It's good. You go to screenings and you're feeling nice. If you're not happy with the film, it
You're
sucks.
like,
And I've experienced both.
yeah.
Uh, and like sometimes but it's great to have experienced both, you know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
you know what it's like and you know maybe where you failed or how you can improve or why something didn't succeed and hopefully you can make changes so the next time it does. And it's also great to kind of play at festivals of all sizes and all scales. It's like being a comedian or a rock star or whatever. Like if you play in a venue where like two people are there and like it's like a tiny little, shitty community hall, or if you play in a venue which is like A-list, amazing cinema, great sound speakers, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? A huge kind of like festival. It just gives you more confidence as a creative kind of, whatever artist or director or whatever it is, you've kind of
Yeah.
you've seen it all in a way.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about this film going out there. I mean, we're talking about this offer. We should just rename this channel the Colin Farrell Fan Club. I mean, a mutual friend of ours.
Yeah.
I mean, a mutual friend. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. Talk a little bit about this, but Colin Farrell has come on board as an executive producer. And if anyone doesn't know Colin Farrell, you do know Colin Farrell. So I mean, what's this like? I mean, just talk about it, man. Just talk about it.
Yeah, like honestly, it's absolutely insane. We are just so grateful and like blown away. Like when it kind of happened. So I suppose for context, we made the film with Screen Ireland, Vico Films. Since then, it's had a good festival run. It's won, quite a few awards, and it's longlisted for the Oscars for next year's Academy Awards. So we have a publicist, and they are called London Flair. They specialize in Oscar campaigns. They've had like 6 wins and 25 nominations in the past 10 years. So like The Irish Goodbye won with them, Stutterer won
Um,
with them. That this is their bag and this is their thing. So they said to us, at one stage, early days, they were like, you should think about trying to get an executive producer, and we just like didn't really pursue it. And then a bit of time passed, and we were like, you know what? Should we give this a go? And like we spoke about it, and we wrote down a list. And first person on the list was Colin Farrell, and we were
Second was
like,
Daniel Fee, so I just lost out to Colin Farrell. That's all right.
so we kind of thought about it, and like we spoke to some people who had kind of, worked with him. Grania Humphreys from Diff was very kind, the Dublin Film Festival director. She had interviewed him before, and we kind of told her our pitch and our idea, and she was like, "I think he'll go for it." She was really optimistic.
Wow.
So we kind of got in touch with his people, his inner circle, his brother first, and then he passed us, loved the film, and put us in touch with his assistant, and then Colin's business partner Claudine who's his sister as well, got in touch with us, like really complimentary and almost just like, going like, have you got any paperwork, almost
He's a
like,
legend.
and we were like, what does that mean? Like, is he into this? Has he seen the film? We just didn't really know because it was just kind of friendly emails, and like, but we were super excited because it sounded like there was potential. And then eventually there was a bit of back and forth, and he signed on, and we were just blown away. So we spoke to him last week, and he's been super kind, super complimentary. He's taught us things about the film that we didn't even know. Like,
Wow. I mean, that's amazing when people can do that.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Like, just we spoke on Zoom, and he was just talking about it so like eloquently and like being super articulate, and like we were just looking at each other after, like, oh my God, it was crazy.
Wow. I mean, he's a legend. Like, I mean, not to we could spend the next hour. I mean, we talked for an hour off air just talking about how amazing he is. But like,
Yeah.
he invited me out to the Banshees Finisher and Irish premiere. Him and his sister, obviously, Claudine. They're just legends. Like, they're absolutely legends. And so it's amazing that he's on board for that. But what's that? I mean, what's that just process like for you of having something like that? Is it still pinch me? Have you kind of gotten used to it, or I mean, just like where's your
Like,
head at
like,
with it now?
like, obviously, like it's the best thing ever, like for the project. It just to have his endorsement just kind of means that we've made a good film, you know what I mean? And it means that more people are going to see it, and hopefully it means that it's going to get more press and attention, and get in front of the right people. And we're hoping for the best when the vote comes. You never know. We're allowing ourselves to dream, but like no matter what, this moment having him on board has just been super cool.
It's a milestone, man. And so how like do you think about this process that you're going through now when you're in pre-production or like
No.
because you can't. I don't think you can because I mean you can't be making the film and thinking,
You have dreams. Like, I have friends who've
yeah,
won Oscars. I know multiple people who've been nominated and people who've won and stuff, and I've chatted with them. And like, you always in the back of your mind, no matter what short you make, you go, I hope this wins an Oscar. But like in reality, like by the end of it, when you've finished, you might have more faith or less. But like I really believed in this story, and like, the big goal was to win an Oscar qualifier, because then that puts you in the pool to be able to, like, them to vote on it. So that was always the big goal. And like, I felt like we made a good enough film that could have won a qualifier, and we did. So like, here we are now, and we'll see what happens.
yeah, exactly, man. Wow. And so like how often will you watch a film? So are you watching it at every screening?
Depends. Like you can't go to the mall because some are like, abroad, or you might have stuff going on, and like obviously
Yeah.
it's expensive to go to every film festival in every part of the world. So
Yeah.
like it's just not practical. But like when I do go to a screening, I will go and watch it,
Yeah.
for sure. And I've seen it so many times, but it's fun to watch it with the crowd because you learn a lot about the film. Our first
Wow.
screening, we kind of noticed laughs that we hadn't experienced in a small room with only like two or three people. And like, there's definitely moments where the intention of the story hits and lands the right way, and you can feel it, whether it's suspense, emotion, comedy. But there's other moments where you didn't predict stuff would land a certain way, and people might laugh nervously, or they might laugh at a whatever moment that you didn't expect. And that's always cool. It's
And
like,
is that always the way, or did you find that specifically with this film? Like, will you, with your other shorts, do people kind of have reactions, or like even talking about Colin, where he understood things even you didn't understand about the film? And I think that's what's kind of cool about an audience is that
yeah,
you can't predict them. It's like there's that old adage in Hollywood where it's like, you can't do the maths on why people connect with a film. It's like it's inarticulatable.
yeah.
Not to use big words, but what's that like for you anyway?
No,
Like,
like I think it's kind of reinforced. Every project you learn something, and I think it's important as filmmakers to have takeaways and what you learn and stuff. And like, because you're just always trying to improve and get better and whatnot. But like, I do think that that's kind of, or this experience is hammered home, especially for my feature when I make one, is test screenings. Do you know what I mean? Like
Really?
you've got to do. Well, I'm not saying that's the one thing I learned, but it's
Yeah.
definitely the thing that I've
Wow.
realized the value of. And like I really want to do when I make a feature, definitely do test screening and understand what moments resonate and what moments could be improved and how it feels. And I don't know if you've ever seen a show, you'd like it because obviously you're obsessed with film like I am. But there's a show on YouTube you can watch called Project Greenlight, which Matt Damon and Ben Affleck made in like the early 2000s. Have you seen it?
Well, I've seen parts of it. I've never actually seen the full
You
thing.
you can watch the whole season. There's 4 seasons. You can watch one, two, three, and four. I think I've watched one and two, and it's just a great behind the scenes of what it's like to make a film. But in one of the seasons, they do like a whole test screening, and they kind of talk about, and it's like Miramax back in the day. Like Harvey Weinstein is like in an episode, which is crazy. But
Let's
yeah,
not get him associated with the film right now. Let's not.
I know. It's only his voice in one of them, and then yeah, it's mad. But
That's
anyway,
nuts, man.
the test screening that they do, they talk about the scores you need to hit, knowing that it's going to be a successful film. Like the American Pie had like a crazy score, like 89, which is like amazing, and they knew then it was going to be a big success.
Wow.
So like, I don't know, it's just a fun thing to think about, when you're kind of seeing where your film lands and how it can improve.
And it's so funny, like I said, like I've talked to so many filmmakers who it's like you just can't predict it. Like so many films, you look at some films on paper and it's like there's no reason that this film should have succeeded or should have done well. And my kind of philosophy is that like the only way is with sincerity. Like if you truly sincerely, like Tarkovsky kind of has that obviously that idea where it's like the only way you can make a film is with true sincerity. Like if you don't have that sincerity, that film will fail. And I feel that's the reason that films will do well because the audience has an amazing bullshit detector. I think the
Oh,
audience will
totally.
they can sniff it out, man. Like if it's inauthentic, if it's not genuine, and like we've obviously talked about, if it's not honest, which is something
Mm,
that's so integral to your work. So I mean,
yeah.
it's fascinating, and so that relationship with the audience, what's it been like for you to develop that as a filmmaker? You know, when you were first making short, like where there's obviously that idea from Tarantino where it's like make a film for yourself, not for the audience.
Yeah.
But I kind
Yeah.
of think there's a middle ground there where you're always thinking about the audience in a way. So how has your relationship with the audience adapted and changed?
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. Like, I definitely do think about the audience, but like, I suppose like directors are the first audience member, I suppose. But also so your key collaborators, like your DP and your editor, because they're watching it as audience members. So I think, when you're reading a script, I don't know if I'm necessarily thinking about the audience. I'm thinking
Yeah,
more about, is there good drama? Is there good conflict? Is there, interesting like structure? Do I feel like the story is building to something? Is the ending earned? Are the characters interesting? And is the dialogue kind of, keeping me engaged, So like it's more about, do I feel the story's working rather than this is going to land with an audience. But then I suppose you can think about things like, is it accessible? Is it unique? Is it, daring? Is it kind
yeah,
of what feelings does this elicit? Is it suspenseful? Is there moments of comedy? Because all that stuff's fun for audience members. So I know for one example, like I remember making something years ago and like I felt like it was quite heavy, the piece. And like I remember watching with audience members and there was never really any laughs. Wasn't much kind of like suspense, it just kind of was a heavy piece. And like I didn't feel like the audience had a great time watching it, you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean,
So that changed my perception about maybe what type of scripts I should try and look for.
and it's so funny how I think, like, I was thinking about this recently. Laughter can win over an audience. Like, there's no way to know you've won over an audience, like, unlike them laughing. Like, if they're laughing, you're like, oh, okay, well, I
Yeah,
have
people
them.
want to have fun. People want to enjoy the experience. Like that doesn't mean you can't enjoy being scared. Like if you
Yeah,
have a thrill being scared. But yeah, I think humor and levity is a great thing for audience members to experience. And it goes so well with drama too, because like great films often make you laugh and cry. And if you can do that
yeah.
both, that could be satisfying.
And like, that's my kind of, that's why I love the the McDonough brothers. And that's why I think their films connect so well, is because, yeah, there's a lot of bleakness to it and they're very dark, but there's just that humor. And
Exactly. Yeah.
and that's
You
what I
need
think.
that. If it's all bleak, Jesus, give me a break. You know what I
Like
mean? Like,
imagine, yeah.
yeah.
Like you have people leaving the audience like and people just feel like like dreadful. And that's not, there are some filmmakers out there
Totally. Yeah, yeah.
Michael Hanke is probably happy for you to
Exactly.
leave
Yeah,
one of his,
exactly.
he's happy for you to leave one of
And
his films fucking,
yeah,
oh,
yeah. I'm
but
thinking of one. Actually, I don't know if I've seen it. I think it won the Pandora White Ribbon. Was that Lars von Trier? I think that was meant to be pretty heavy. But even like Zone of Interest, like is super heavy, and that's amazing. So you can do that sort of thing, obviously. But like the story needs to be great, and like if you're going to go through a film like that, you kind of have to be prepared. It's not a
yeah,
hangover
exactly,
film, is
man.
it?
Exactly. And like there are some films like it's funny how many filmmakers I've talked to are like their guilty pleasures are rom-coms. Like they'll watch rom-coms and I'm like, man, I get it, man. Like, if you're watching like these dark and desperate films all day, you're like, man, just give me something. But do you feel like you have a style as a filmmaker?
I don't know, man. Like it's hard to say, like when you've only made shorts, like
Yeah.
it's evolving. But like I do think that I'm kind of finding one, and like I
Your
feel like,
voice.
yeah, like definitely I'm trying to make films that are cinematic and things that might have sort of big ideas or big themes, but done in a kind of slightly genre sort of esque way. So like,
Mm.
like Parasite, I love that film, and like I feel like Room Taken in its own like way, maybe not
Yeah.
extremely, but like has a similar kind of thing going on because there's big ideas in the story, but it's also kind of like a suspenseful kind of drama that has like moments of humor and maybe even moments of like emotion, and
Exactly.
it's quite conceptual. Like it's got a fun concept,
Like,
so.
yeah, the reason I ask is because like I feel that kind of in Room Taken. Like, there's like Room Taken. I mean, you describe the plot to someone would probably be like, "Oh, so it's a horror film." Like, it,
Yeah.
it has that potential, but there's actually a really genuine and sincere sort of niceness to it, and that's kind of a tough thing to pull off with an idea that could be interpreted as one way. Like, how many sweet films do you know are kind of like
Yeah,
when you hear the plot, you're
dude,
like,
I don't know. Like, it's not my kind of like ambition to make just sweet films. That this film just kind of had that sort of, I suppose, tone because of like the resolution, and also you have these two endearing, empathetic characters going through a challenging moment in their lives, and things work out kind of for the better, and that's kind of, like a nice feeling for the audience. But like, I'm developing other stories where there's one that's like a really kind of psychological thriller about a murder, and then there's another about a dog being kidnapped,
wow,
and another is about a billionaire who is like having a weekend where a young private chef kind of works in his estate, and he's a bit of a misogynist and a bit of a scumbag. So like very different sort of films, but they all, I think, probably talk about, or I hope they do talk about some kind of modern, timely, even timeless kind of theme that's quite human, that's got
yeah.
some substance to them.
And that's what I love about Room Taken is that I remember I interviewed Martin Brest, who directed Midnight Run and Beverly Hill Cops and all of these kind of big American films. And I was talking to him, Scent of a Woman too was him. But I remember asking him like, "What is it you look for in an actor?" And he said like the most, and it was the most simple thing ever, but something that still suits me. He was like, "The only thing I want from an actor is I want you to reveal something to me about the human condition." I
Oh
was like,
wow.
wow, that's so, like that's really profound. I think you see that in his work. Like he's not a cinephile. He said that to me. He's like, Tarantino will tell you everything about film. I don't really know much about film, but like he just loves it. And for him, it was just about the human condition. And what I love most about Room Taken is that I feel it reveals something about the human condition, and that's about the highest compliment I think you can pay a film. So, I mean, sir, before we finish up, where can people go follow updates for Room Taken, or where can people go check out Room Taken right now?
I'm glad you brought that up because, well, thank you for the kind words, and yeah, appreciate it. But in terms of where you can watch it, so we're hopefully going to be releasing on Omeleto, release this video, but on Thursday this week, which is the 20th, I believe. Is it
Yeah.
Thursday or the 21st?
So, I mean, your video froze a little bit. Could you just say that again?
Sorry, sorry. So on the 21st of November, we're releasing it for a limited time on the platform Omeleto to kind of have it. They have a section of for your consideration long listed short films. So we're releasing it there for a couple of weeks so people can see it before the vote. And then after that, it's going to be probably sold to a few different platforms or territories. It's all kind of with our distributor at the moment. And then also you can check out our Instagram page, which is at Room Taken. And yeah, that there's a lot of updates there, so it's quite active.
Amazing. Everyone go check out Room Taken. You're on Instagram, social media, anything else you can promote, TJ?
Yeah, my Instagram's at TJ O'Grady Peyton 11. So 11. So TJ OGRADY PEYTON 11.
Amazing. Everyone, I really cannot recommend you enough. Please go check out Room Taken. If there's links I can post up, there'll be a link for this in the description. I don't know when I upload this, but if I upload this video and it's out on Omeleto, there'll be a link for it in the description. But please do go check it out. I cannot recommend it enough. It's a really sincere, what I feel is a beautiful piece of cinema. Like I said, that does reveal something about the human condition. And I wouldn't say that, on my channel if I didn't truly believe it. Please go check it out on Instagram, Room Taken. But TJ, thank you so much for taking the time, sir. I'll talk to you a little bit off air. Everyone, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. You can go follow me over on Instagram if you'd like, Daniel Fee 33. But go check out Room Taken right now.